Yeah. So then there's that little note there.
I'm coming.
So Jen's going to tap the little note and we'll be all ready to start. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jimena, for setting all this up. And I'm Amy Karanik. I'm a brand ambassador for Sculpey products. And I absolutely love oven baked polymer clay. And so I'm so glad to have you with me. Today, it's all about Valentines and Galentines. And so we're going to make loads and loads of earrings. And I'm glad for you to join me and to see what we're making. So I'm going to put my glasses on and get to work. I'm going to pull this camera over here so that you can see my workstation. First, I want to show you what the goal is of today's projects. I'm just trying to square that up so no one gets, you know, ill from the side from being crooked. So first we're going to take a look at making a liquid Sculpey project, and that's what this is, this little heart necklace and these earrings. And that is going to be made, like I said, with liquid Sculpey and this super cool mold. And I'll show you more about the mold when we get started. Then we are going to take Premo Sculpey and we're going to make what we call a slab. And a slab is a flat piece of clay with a lot of cool designs on top. And from that slab, I'm going to show you how you can make all of these earrings using different cutters and different shapes to make those. So without further ado, let's get started. And I think I'll just set these earrings off to the side momentarily. And we're going to work on the Liquid Sculpey project first. So Liquid Sculpey, I don't know how many of you have used it. And today we're going to use gold and garnet, metallic, and white. That's how I made these little heart pieces. Let me show you these closer up. This is the little pendant piece, and it has this beautiful marbled swirly effect to it, has matching earrings. And also I want to introduce you to, this is clay softener and thinner in a liquid form. I'm not actually using it today, but I want you to know it's available, and that if you have some particularly really thick, I keep getting a message that Donna Rose is in the waiting room and needs to be admitted. Can we help her get in?
I got it.
Did you get her? Okay, thanks. So anyway, I want you to know that this thinner and is available for Liquid Sculpey, and I'll tell you as we're going along here, you know, how to know if you need to use it or not. So Liquid Sculpey comes in these 1 ounce bottles, and Michael's has like 11 different colors of it, I think. And first thing you want to do is stir it. And you always want to stir Liquid Sculpey. So Liquid Sculpey is oven baked polymer clay in liquid form. That's exactly what it is. And it just needs to be stirred just exactly the same way you would if you were painting and you stirred a bottle of acrylic paint first. You would stir your Liquid Sculpey before you get going. So that's how I do it. I just take any kind of a tool that I can reach all the way down to the bottom and stir it up well. And then I always have paper towel on hand for cleaning my tools. I try to get as much of it back into the bottle as I possibly can before closing the bottle back up and then cleaning my tool. So that's how that works. I've already stirred the gold and the white. And talk a little bit about thinner. So when you're doing a Liquid Sculpey project, sometimes it's really important to have your liquids be all the same consistency. And so if you had a bottle of Liquid Sculpey that might be thicker or one might be thinner, you could actually use the thinner and you just use a drop at a time to even out the consistency of each of your liquids. And that's what that's for, and I want you to know that it's available. So that's Sculpey Clay Softener and Thinner, and it's real runny looking. It's clear and it's real runny. So it's the same size as these, but it's a whole different product. Next, let's take a look at the mold I'm going to use. This is from Sculpey Tools, and it is a silicone oven baked mold, and I'm just going to pop it open and take the mold out. And I want you to notice that the little molding areas are shiny, and that's because oven bake Liquid Sculpey, when you put it in a mold that's shiny, then the piece that comes out has that same beautiful, slick, glossy shine to it. So the Liquid Sculpey kind of takes on the texture of whatever you put it, whatever you cure it to. And so our Sculpey jewelry mold is shiny for that reason. So we're going to focus today on the heart shapes. But I want you to know that last summer I did one of these Zoom classes with Michael's. It was the first Zoom class we ever did. And we actually filled every crevice of this mold and then showed you how to make a pendant and matching earrings with every single thing filled. So that might be just a video that you want to look up on the Michael's website and go back and utilize that information, because there was a lot going on with that mold and it was super fun. Okay, today we're going to focus on the hearts because it's all about Valentines and Galentines. Our Liquid Sculpey bottles have this adjustable nozzle, and so I'm just opened it up by twisting, and I'm just going to fill the top area of the heart pendant with the gold, and then I'm going to go in here and put in some white areas. And when I'm doing a multicolor piece like this, I like to use some of our flat colors like the white alongside some of our metallic colors, which is the gold and the garnet in this case. And I think that the flat and the metallic, they work really nicely well with each other when you put them together. So I'm just kind of making a little pattern here. I've got 2 lobes of gold up at the top and then an area of the garnet. You can see the white stripes in between. And I think you can also tell that my mold is not completely full. So what I'm going to do is just go back and fill gold on top of gold, white on top of white, and garnet on top of garnet until it's full up to the top. Now also, when you look at this mold, you can tell that it has these little prongs right here so that each of these shapes has a built-in hole. And that's just really genius so that you don't have to worry about how you're going to get a hole in the finished piece, you know, to add a jump ring. So now I put light color on top of light color to fill the mold up to level. And let me just go ahead and make my little heart earrings to match. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I've got the gold up in the lobes, and then I have a white stripe here and here. And the little earring shapes, they have that built-in hole as well, so that you don't have to figure out how you're going to get a hole for your jump rings. It's already provided by that little stem. When I put my liquid right above the stem, I'm kind of using the tip of the nozzle to pull the stem out of my way and then squirting a lump right above it like that. And then what I would really want to do is go back and make sure I've got this filled up to level. If you don't want to fill it to level, you don't have to, because then that would give you a much more delicate and thinner finished shape. So you can use whatever method you like to produce the thickness of the piece that you want. I'm just adding my white stripes because they got kind of covered up here. And I'll show you how thick, like if you're wanting to decide this piece is, this is how thick the mold is. This is from the side, and so that I filled the mold all the way up, and that's how thick of pieces you get. So if you wanted something a lot thinner, you could do that. I'll just set my liquids out of the way. Then what I like to do is tap the mold on my work surface. I don't know if you guys have ever made melting chocolates in a mold and you would tap it like this. It's kind of the same process. You want to release some air bubbles, let those go. Now I want to create a marbled pattern on these, and so I'm going to take my needle tool, and it has this handy lid to keep me from stabbing myself. So keep track of that. Don't lose it. It comes in handy. What I like to do is start up here in the top in that little red dot, and then bear with me. I'm going to try to not let my hand get in the way. Maybe I can scoot it over this way. What I like to do is put the needle tool in there and then drag. I'll stop here so you can see. I am, without lifting the needle, I'm dragging the colors into each other. And I'll lift it up when I'm all done. Then when I've got a good swirl pattern, I just lift the needle tool out and wipe that off. and this creates a marbling. I'm going to show you up close what that looks like in just a second. So for the earrings, I'm going to marble one heart like clockwise, and then I'll marble the other heart counterclockwise. That gives you kind of a little, you know, matching effect. Now you don't have to marble these at all if you liked that more of a color block look. There's that way too, but there's so many ways that you can use this mold. And if you look up that video from last July, we did a different treatment and a different, we added glitter, we added mica, we added beads, we added all kinds of things to one mold to make 6 different styles of finished pieces. Okay, so there's the marbling that I did with that needle tool. I got a little bit of the liquid on top of that post. That's fine. I'm just going to bake it that way, and I'll show you how to reopen that after it's baked. Okay, so this is the silicone mold. It goes right in the oven. You can put it on top of a baking sheet if you like. Just follow the instructions as they're outlined on the packaging. And when it's done, you have, voila, one of these. This is all baked, and it's so easy to get your pieces out because the mold is flexible. You just gently flex it and pop your piece out. And then sometimes I get a little sloppy and I've got this little, you know, flange of extra liquid there. And I have these great little scissors that I just keep on hand, and I just trim it back like so. Just trim the edges, or you can probably even just get some of that moved away with your fingernail. And then I'll use my needle tool to reopen that hole because I did get some of the liquid on top of my little post. So I'll just pull that back, and I can even scrape it back with my fingernail and make sure that the little post is uncovered. So look at the difference. You can use your piece from either side. This side has that wonderful little swirliness that you can see from the back. And then the other side has kind of this neat little streaky pattern on the other side. And I'll pop the little earrings out and see how they look. So just flex the mold and pull them out, and then you can remove the excess clay with your fingernails or with a pair of scissors. And then these are ready to be turned into earrings and a pendant. So really quickly, I want to show you how that is done with jump rings. So just in case you're not familiar with jewelry finishing, I've got an assortment of jump rings here. And this is a great little assortment that comes from Michael's. It comes with a variety of sizes in it. So if you're new to jewelry assembly and you're not really sure what size jump rings you need, you could start out with one of these great little kits of random sizes. I think they range in size from 4 millimeter to maybe, this one's probably almost a centimeter, which would be 10 millimeters. So let me do that again. When you open a jump ring, you don't have to have 2 pairs of pliers, but it sure comes in handy to grab the jump ring. Now, I have the split in the jump ring all the way up here toward the camera. So when I open a jump ring, I always open it this way. So I'm turning one pair of pliers toward me and one away from me. You do not ever, I'll just ruin one here and show you. You don't ever stretch jump rings open. You don't stretch them open. I can't even make it do it wrong, which is good. You don't stretch them open like that. See how that deformed the ring? And this ring is opened properly. So this one still has a really nice circular shape to it, while this one is all deformed. The reason you don't stretch them open like that is you can never get them back closed. But if you open them the proper way, then when they close again, they have a tension where those 2 sides of the jump ring meet each other. It actually creates a little tension that keeps the ring closed. So I've picked a rather large jump ring that I'm going to put through the heart, the pendant heart. Just poke it through like that, through that little hole. Grab the other side, and then carefully realign the 2 sides of the jump ring until they meet right in the middle. See that? And that is a perfect little closure. So you want the jump ring to remain in that tension where whatever you're putting, let's say you want to add a thin chain. That way you're pretty assured that that ring is going to stay closed. So here's a chain and I can just run that through and not worry about, you know, the ring coming open. I know I can get it through there. I know I can. Okay, like so. And then you can do the same thing when you want to turn these little guys into earrings. Just add a couple jump rings and then use your matching gold ear wires. So let's just assemble one real quick and show you how that works. I'll just run this through the hole. And then while the jump ring is still open, you can add an ear wire that has this little hole right here. Just thread that on, and then you can close the ring like so. So if you guys have questions, if I haven't made it perfectly clear, please chime in the chat room. We would love to answer your questions. So there's how you would make an earring. Dingle, dingle. All right, we'll move on to the slab part of the class, which is using solid as opposed to liquid. We're going to do a beautiful slab and make all of these types of earrings right here. So if you've gotten to see all the different shapes we're making, I'll pull those back in later when I focus on making the shapes, but I did want you to see how they look finished.
Hey, Amy,
yes.
Can you talk about how you don't microwave clay and that what you bake it in?
Yeah. So this is a silicone baking mat. This is a Sculpey product. You can bake on any kitchen, you know, pans that you have. You could protect your pan. Just if you're using the same pan for food as you're using for oven baked clay, you might want to put a layer, you know, down on top of the pan. And this is a silicone clay mat that you can work on, or you could protect your pan with foil or something. But yeah, oven baked polymer clay needs to be cured in a home oven. And most of our clay brands cure in the 275-degree range. All of our clays have that information of baking time and temperature right here on the end of the bar. Sorry, everything's backwards. Right here on the end of the bar, it tells you the time and temperature, and I'm using Premo clay, so I'm showing you a bar of Premo. It's 275 for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch of thickness. So it has to go in a traditional oven, not a microwave. Microwave ovens typically don't heat exactly evenly. And so you're going to not get an even product if you try to microwave it. So that is not, you know, typically how that's done. Okay, so first I want to make a real pretty background color. And this is the color background that I used for my earrings. And I call this beige because it's partially white and partially beige. So I call that beige. And you can make a nice beige color by combining white and beige. And I'm just double checking my recipe. So actually for my recipe, I used double beige, 2-to-1 beige to white. So I'll just show you oven baked clay. Let me show you another bar. Oven baked polymer clay. Actually, there's one part missing here, but it comes with these lines on it. It comes with 4 little sections of clay in a 2-ounce bar. And so that's a good way. You can break the clay on that line. That's a good way to kind of measure. And when I write instructions, I generally talk about using like a 1/4 bar or a 1/2 bar or something like that. So oven baked clay is pretty soft from the package. One way that you can knead it and get it working well is to use your hands like so, and your body heat will quickly make the clay even softer and easier to condition. You want to always condition your clay because it's kind of like if you're making bread or pizza or something, you're going to work with your ingredients until they all incorporate well together. And so that's really important to, when you take your clay out of the package, to just start getting some of your body heat transferred to it and working it together. Now, obviously, when you mix colors, you're going to want to really condition the clay until it becomes your new color. So I just wanted to give you some tips about conditioning oven baked clay. Are we doing okay, Jen?
Yeah, how do you get rid of air bubbles?
Okay, so air bubbles, probably one will come up today and we will get rid of it. A lot of times I'll use a very fine needle tool to actually pierce the area of the clay that has the bubble, and then push the bubble out through the little hole that I've created. Another way is a lot of polymer clay workers will use a pasta machine to make flat sheets of oven baked clay. And if you're using a pasta machine, your method for using a pasta machine to make a thin sheet would be to run your clay through, and I'm going to demonstrate this really quick. So for example, if we're making a sheet of clay, and let's call this a sheet, I might work at it for a while by hand and get it really soft. And then once I go to my pasta machine, I would start out on the thickest setting no matter what, because you want to kind of step your clay down from the thickest setting to thinner settings. But anyway, what I would do if I'm using a pasta machine to keep air bubbles under control is when I fold my clay in half and I push it through the pasta machine, I'm always going to push the folded edge through first, because then that helps to press air out through the opening that is here. So if you put your clay through not folded side first, you're obviously going to trap air in this fold. So in order to keep air from trapping in the fold, you would always press the fold through first and then let the air eject out through the open end. And that's another way of having good technique where you're not going to trap air, inside the clay sheet. So I hope that answered your question. And I'm sure we'll get an air bubble that we need to pop with our needle tool. Okay, so by hand, if I want to make that new color beige that we're talking about, I would just keep folding and rolling with my acrylic roller until I have that new color. Now, a lot of times though, I really love to stop at partially blended, because there's always a good use for partially blended, because it just has a lot of really pretty little layers and colors. But for this project, we're going to go all the way and create a sheet of clay that's completely blended.
Can you quickly talk about good work surfaces to create on?
Sure. Good work surfaces would be a silicone mat like this. Other work surfaces that people use in my home studio, my counters are all Formica or laminate countertop, and I've worked on laminate countertop for 30 years now. And the thing that's great about laminate is the clay, it will stay down stuck to it if you want it to, but then you can peel it right up easily. It also cleans really well. There's other people I know that work on a glass surface because the clay won't bond with the glass, and then they can peel clay up from the glass surface. So metal, glass, a silicone worksheet like this, those are all good. Also, as you can see, this is my background color that I have here, but I have each of my other colors already prepared on these little deli sheets. And these are super inexpensive little, they're called deli sheets. They're sort of like wax paper, and you can buy these in boxes, like 1,000 of them for just a few bucks at like a big box store. And these are really instrumental for helping you keep different pieces of clay organized, like in a quick situation like this, where I need to move clay around and show you what I've got going without having it stick, to a work surface. But you don't want to keep clay on these indefinitely, because if I peel my clay away, so this clay I only prepared this afternoon, between noon and now. And you can see by my little deli sheet, you can see the oil that remains on the sheet. Well, that is actually leaching some of the essential ingredients out of my clay. And so I wouldn't want to keep that on there for a long period of time, because it would eventually make the clay even more brittle, or I should say more brittle, because the clay is not brittle at all. But I'm just saying that for organizational purposes, these come in super handy, but they're not good for storage. Okay, I hope I made that as clear as I could. So now what I want to do is I have this background color that I feel complements all the other colors. And I'm going to create a slab because slab techniques are super popular right now. You might have like a floral slab or a terrazzo slab, or you might have a marbled slab, but slabs are a great way to make all kinds of veneers or thin pieces of clay that then you can use for other things. So I have all these clays and I have them rolled out really thinly. And what we're going to make today is a geometric slab, because you can see that in my finished pieces, all the little elements that I have going there are actually little geometric shapes like circles and triangles and squares. So I have these great little cutters these are from Michael's. You get the circles. I'm actually going to take this off the paper and see if it'll stick down better. In this case, I kind of want my clay to stick down so I don't have to keep picking it up to eject it from my cutter. There we go. See how quick that makes it? I smoothed the clay down so it would really stick. And then that way I'm not ejecting little circles out, constantly from the cutter. But anyway, I took my beige and I've made all these little circles, and I'm just going to sprinkle these randomly over my background color. The thickness of these little beige circles is quite thin compared to the background. This is like probably closer to a 1/16 of an inch thick, whereas my background color is about an 1/8. So I'm just going to randomly sprinkle my circles on. I'll just do a few more. And then I'm going to use my my clay roller, which is a hand tool, and I'm just going to seat those kind of down in the background. Another thing about slabs is you kind of want you can either make a slab where all your elements are raised, or you can make a slab where your elements, are kind of level to the background. So this is antique gold. And again, these are all Premo colors. I really prefer Premo for jewelry making, because Premo is super strong, but it also has a slight flexibility to it. It comes in lots and lots of beautiful colors that can easily be blended together. But it's the strength of the Premo that's most important to me, because you can roll it out real thinly and it's still super strong. And you wouldn't believe how much abuse jewelry actually takes. Like if you're wearing a necklace or a bracelet, even earrings, they get kind of banged around throughout the day when you're wearing them, and you need your clay to be really strong. So I always recommend both Premo and our Soufflé brands for jewelry making, especially if you're making pieces that you might want to sell, because you obviously want to make a really nice quality product and you don't want it to break on whoever is wearing it. So next I'm going to take my white and I'm going to burnish it down too. And that's another great thing about these silicone mats, is you can either get things to stick to it or it peels up easily from it. So this is the medium size circle cutter, and I don't know if I showed you the little cutters I'm using. You get 3 circles and 3 squares, and these are a great size and shape. And then I'm going to use my clay blade to divide these into little triangles, just to give me another shape. So just cutting all of these in half, and then I'm going to cut the halves in half. So I've got these cute little triangles. They don't all have to be exactly the same shape. And then I'm just going to pick up my triangles and add those to the slab. And take your time and get elements all over the slab so that you really have a lot of real estate there to cut your final shapes out of. So I'm trying to get, design elements even out to the edges so that I have a lot of usable beautiful clay. Okay. So maybe I don't need all of those. Maybe I do. Got those all on there. I don't think I rolled after my little antique gold squares, but we'll go ahead and roll a little bit now. I'm not rolling so much that it distorts my shapes, but I just want to make sure they're really sticking to the background there. Next, I'm going to take this raw, or no, this is burnt umber is what this is. It's a really rich, nice chocolatey brown. And I'm going to use my little square again. Cut out several little squares. That might be too many, but that's okay. I'm also going to cut out a few circles out of this one so I can make some teeny tiny triangles with the small circle cutter. And I'll just peel this away and then you can see the little shapes. And I will, I'm going to section the squares down even smaller because I think one of the keys to having a really nice slab is having like a variety of size of elements that you add in. So this is going to give us some really tiny bits. And I'm just cutting these into fourths. And then I'm going to use this little clay tool to help me pick these up and sprinkle these on.
Amy, can you talk about clay softener? Rachel has a lot of questions about it. So
okay.
She wants to know if she doesn't have it, how can she soften clay?
Okay, but Rachel, are we talking about solid clay or liquid clay for clay softener?
Looks like solid clay.
Solid clay? Okay. So we have another product called clay softener, and that's what it is. It softens clay. If you want to soften clay, it's really the way you do it. You need to get this product and you could have it on hand. It lasts a long, long time. And it can help you rejuvenate clay that might, like, let's say you have clay that you left on this paper too long and you leached out all that plasticizer that keeps the clay flexible. You could actually take your clay like this and you could work some clay softener into it, or you could use a pasta machine or other methods to get clay softener back involved in the clay. And so you just would really need to knead it in. Now, if you're talking about what I call solid clays, which is what this is, it is not liquid, is what I'm trying to say. I prefer to use our own solid clay softener, which is the same consistency as clay. If I'm doing liquid clay, I prefer to use liquid clay softener, but you can use liquid. If you only have one product and you have the liquid one, you can use liquid clay softener with solid clay. And the way I would do that is I would spread my solid clay out as best as I can. I would put one drop of the thinner in the middle, and then I would knead it all in toward the middle. And this will certainly revive and soften, like I said, if you've got old clay that the plasticizer has accidentally leached out onto paper or something, you can use the liquid clay softener. And then what you would want to do is just add one drop at a time and work it in, and one drop at a time, because you can really go way too far and put too much. And then you might be trying to leach some of that softener back out again. So solid softener for solid clay, if you can get it, and liquid softener for liquid clay, if you're using liquid clay. So now I just want to clean my hands, because that softener is, well, you can see it softened the clay so much that I've got little brown stains on me. So baby wipes or paper towels are a great tip for cleaning your hands between colors. Some colors of oven baked clays will transfer onto your skin more than others. Like, you know, red colors will transfer a lot, and that's pretty common for most craft mediums. And then if you've got red stains on your hands and you go right to your white, then you're going to have pink. And baby wipes are a fantastic thing to keep on hand, you know, for cleaning your hands between colors. Did I answer your question, Rachel? Did that handle your question about softeners? I hope so.
She said halfway.
Oh, okay. Well, how can I help more?
I think she wants to know if she was stuck in a snowstorm and couldn't get to Michael's, are there any home products that she could use?
Oh boy. Oh, if you're stuck in a snowstorm, which that's a great scenario to think about, and you can't get to Michael's.
So is there anything around her home that she could use?
Well, okay. So Rachel, you've got here the end user. I've been using oven baked clay for like 30 years. And then on the floor down there, you've got my boss, Jen, who actually works at the factory. And so Jen's going to correct me if I say something wrong.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to work at this together. But I have heard of people maybe using Vaseline. Is that, what do you think, Jen? No, Jen says no, don't do it. See, the thing is, oven baked clay and liquid clay don't have water in them. So you can't go the water route because that's not a viable ingredient in the product. I said Vaseline because that's more of an oil-based product. Gosh, let's just pray for good weather all the time.
What about mineral oil?
Mineral oil, yes. That would be closer. That would be better because it's an oil-based product and clay is oil-based. So I think mineral oil, thank you, Jen. I think mineral oil in super sparing amounts and working at it from the position of adding as little as possible and then adding more, as needed. Yeah, that might be the way to go. I would start there. Mineral oil. All right, this is my last color. This is the blush, and I'm gonna do a time check here. Oh, we're doing good. Okay, so for the blush, I wanna make kind of a crescent moon shape. So I'm gonna use this medium shaped cutter and just cut out a few circles. And then I'm gonna use this same cutter and cut some little crescent shapes like so, little random crescents, and add those to the mix. Because just like how we mentioned before, that these slabs, I think, look best when you have, kind of a variety of shapes and sizes of elements. And also it kind of causes the elements to overlap nicely. Whereas if you use all the same type of shapes, you probably end up creating a pattern that you didn't really intend, like a accidental pattern. And you get one piece out of the pattern and it's like, was that supposed to be a pattern or not? But with all of these little random shapes, it's easier to be random. I just use my same cutter to kind of cut off center, and then that creates that great little crescent. And when you're looking at your pattern and you're confused about where to put a piece, kind of squint your eyes and look at it from a different perspective and the color that you're missing. If you squint your eyes and look at it and don't really focus, the color that you're missing will really jump out at you and say, hey, I need more of that over here. We could even use these little guys that are left over. All right, I'm liking it. Okay, so now in slab art, the final thing that a lot of people do, which really gives it a whole nother layer of interest, is to doodle on some texture. And let me show you how I do that. So to doodle on texture, I'm going to use this tool. This is a double-ended tool. It's got a ball on one end, and I call this the blunt point on the other. And then I'm going to use this tool, which has this nice kind of beveled long knife shape on the other end. And I'm also going to use my needle tool. Boy, if you guys could see the mess I've got over here, it's almost comical. Okay, so then what I do is I just take my tool and I just start randomly adding dots. And if I'm going to add dots to the edge of these white partial triangles, then I just kind of do it to all of them.
Amy, can you talk a little bit about scrap clay and what you can do with it
Oh
when
yeah.
you're done with your project?
Oh, scrap clay is the bomb. And I will, if we have time, I will sacrifice this some of this slab to scrap clay and actually give you a demonstration, because scrap clay pieces are so great because they generate these super random patterns that you couldn't make otherwise. So especially when you're making these slabs, you're going to have leftover clay, and it's just beautiful to turn your scraps into good stuff. So all I'm doing is creating a series of little textured patterns all over my slab, like so. And I love this part of it because it's just really a lot like doodling. Doodling is one of my favorite pastimes. And I also want you to doodle in this area, in the background area where nothing's going on. Like doodle on some of your shapes in a consistent way, but for the background, doodle inconsistently and just kind of fill in some of those places with, you know, with doodles. So.
And Amy, can you talk about how you store your clay?
How I store it?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I store clay. So there's another, we talked about this product here. This is deli sheets. There's another product very similar to this, and we call it like snap wrap or snap sheets. They're also deli sheets. You know when you buy ham and they wrap your ham in that weird clear sheet? That's what it is. And I buy those in bulk. It's almost like saran wrap that's already been cut into squares. And so that works really well for storing. Like you could, for veneers or slabs like this, you could layer it between, and it won't pull out this oil residue because it's non-porous. So you can layer up different slabs like this and put that between them, and the clay will be preserved in there. Other people use like plastic, you know, those plastic sheets that come in a 3-ring binder, and you get these divider tabs that are like a clear plastic sheet. Some people use those to stack up veneers like this and store them. If you're a cane maker, you can wrap canes in saran wrap. So, all right, so the final step in achieving all these earrings is to start dividing this slab up into different shapes. And this much clay, let me show you how much that was. This much clay right here was a half a brick of beige, and it was a quarter brick of white. So basically 3/4 of a brick produced that background. And that's enough clay to make all of these, you know, once you've got it decorated and ready to go, that's enough clay to make all of these earrings. So I'll just pick out, actually I already picked out this square. And what you would do is just start dividing this up and cutting out pieces, and try obviously to get a neat pattern that you're cutting out, but also preserve your real estate there so that you can get all of this. So there I've got a couple squares, and then what I can do is cut out part of the square to make this little, so it's a 2-piece element. I've got the big square here at the bottom, and then I've got this little dangle at the top, and that dangle came right out of the square. So you can use the same shape cutter to pop out, you know, a decorative element out of the bigger element. And I'll just peel these up to show you how this works. So there is my larger earring element that would be at the bottom, and this would be my smaller piece that would be at the top of the dangle. And then what you want to do is decide how, after it's baked, those are going to go together. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the design of this earring shape, I connected it by, sorry, let me get back in the middle. Okay, I connected the bottom piece, I connected with a big jump ring right through that empty hole in the middle. And then I needed a hole in this little piece to connect the jump ring and the earring at the top. So the way you get that done is these pieces are ready to bake because the jump ring is going to go right through that big hole. But these little ones are going to need a connector hole at the top and the bottom. So you need to take your needle tool or maybe this blunt pointer, and you need to poke a hole in the top and in the bottom to provide a place for your jump ring. And anytime I put a hole in clay, I go through one way and then I come back through the other just to make the hole super neat. And I'm also holding this really, really gently so that I don't deform my shape. Okay, so then those pieces are ready to go into the oven. And I would repeat that process for my other piece. Like so. So that's one pair of earrings that I got from just, you know, cutting out this shape twice and this shape twice. And then I can just continue, like this pair is this larger circle. I did the exact same thing, cut out 2 circles and then cut the middle out with the smaller hole and used that for the top dangle. So here's my smaller cutter. I'll just cut that out through the middle. And obviously you can decide how you want it to look. Like, it's very interesting if you just cut the circle right out of the middle, but also it's very interesting to cut a circle like off center and make it not perfectly symmetrical. So those would be my little top dangles. Those would get holes for jump rings, and then these would be my bottom dangles. Let's take a look at some other designs. These designs were made with a half circle at the bottom, and then I just used our blush color that we had laid out for our slab design. I just made a thicker piece of this blush color and used that for the top half element of the earring. I did the same thing with these. Cut out a circle for the bottom with an inner circle cut out and then a half round. And then I used the antique gold without, you know, it having anything done to it. That's just the antique gold color was the top. And then this one was our teardrop shape, and that comes in our teardrop cutters like this. I used a large one to cut out the outer shape and a smaller one to cut the inner shape.
Amy, can you talk a little bit about glazing?
Yes, if you wanted to produce a shine on any finished pieces, we have a beautiful Sculpey gloss glaze. We have glossy and matte, or satin. Thank you, Jen. We have glossy and satin. So that just paints on after the clay is baked. You could paint it on. And then it just air dries. So that's a great way to achieve a gloss or a satin finish. Okay, I want to show you what to do if you have some of this left over that's scrap, because I think you all can figure out how to use different shapes and create all the earrings you want to and mix and match those shapes. But I love that question that came in about what to do with scrap clay. Let's say I cut out as many elements out of this as that I wanted to, and then I had, like, you know, this random piece left over, and I really didn't know what to do with it. So here's what I would do with it. I would just wad this up and make a marbled slab that matches. So what I want to do is get the colors just going randomly. And twisting is a really, really good way to get things going, you know, in a whole new direction. And what's beautiful about this is then you can create a whole nother pattern that totally goes with all that geometric slab that we just made. You get to make this whole random marbled pattern, and the colors match perfectly but are yet different. Kind of like how fabric is designed in different, you know, you have one colorway, but 6 or 8 different patterns. And then if you want to flatten this back out to make it the same level of thickness, you know, as your other pieces, then you have this beautiful partially blended marbled design that you can use to create even more elements that you could mix and match with all of that patterning, and it looks really cool. So, Jimena, if you could put me back on my face. I want to thank you for coming, and I want to, since we had that great question about marbling, I want to show you what we're doing next month because it incorporates all of that. So on March 8th at 5, our March class is going to be all about spring themed slabs. So look at what we're doing there. This is a slab that's all about flowers and vines and leaves. And so that is one of the slabs we're going to do. We're also going to turn that slab into this beautiful marbled pattern here. And then look at this slab. These are all the same colorway, so they're all mix and match. They look so good together. This is a terrazzo slab made from all these same colors. And so we're going to look at making those 3 different vessels. And of course, we're going to show you how to turn each of those slabs again into your favorite thing, earrings. Because everyone loves earrings because they're fast, they're easy to make in mass, and then everyone loves getting them and giving them for gifts. So here is all the ways we're using the slabs next month to make 3 sets of earrings and 3 different vessels. And then the bonus prize will be getting to learn how to use one of our larger molds and the peacock pearl to make this beautiful lace pattern that we used as an accent around the jar. So we might have time for 1 or 2 more questions before I have to tell you goodbye. But I did want to make sure that you got to see what we're doing next month. How we do? Any more questions?
Yeah, Rachel has a lot of questions about you. When did you start this hobby?
Oh boy.
Is this your business? Why do you like it?
Oh my gosh.
So if you can give it 2 seconds.
Oh, we have a little bit here. Okay. I've been doing this for over 30 years. That's longer than I've had children. And anyway, I love it because you get the whole combination of touching and feeling and texture and color and pattern and play and doodling all together in one package. And you can cure it in your own home oven at a relatively low temperature. You don't have to have special curing equipment. You can just cure it with like 30 minutes or less, and you get all this instant gratification. So I feel like my life has just been completely blessed that I was in the right place at the right time to meet the Sculpey folks, and I live in the same state as them. So early in my career, we partnered together, and we, you know, they send me ideas about projects, I send them samples, and it's just been such a wonderful way for me to be a stay-at-home mom and now a stay-at-home grandma, and get to do a creative outlet with a lot of great direction from Jen and her marketing team. And it's just been a really great scenario. So you can find me on Facebook. Amy Karanik is my name. I have my own clay page called Amy Co. And then I'm on Instagram too as Amy_Co. So if you want to learn more about me and my passion for polymer, then those are other ways that I welcome you to connect with me. So is there another burning question about clay, Jen?
About your necklace. What finish do you have on your necklace?
Okay, so this necklace was made by Mili Angulo. She's one of my students in our brand ambassador program that we taught in Peru in 2019. Mili, this is sanded and polished to a shine. There's no coating on here. So people who really have a love and a passion for shining and buffing polymer, that's what they do. They sand it. They go through all these levels of sandpaper, 400, 600, 800, all the way up to like 1200 grit sandpaper. And then they polish it on a buffing wheel, and you get this whole nother avenue of beautiful polished finish without a glaze. So that's how that happened. So I thank Mealy. I wear this necklace a lot and I love her and her work. So I think I need to let them go, Jen. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And I love you all. I wish I could give you an up close and personal hug. And someday I will. And anyway, next month, join us March 8th at 5 for that great class I showed you earlier. Also, if you're inspired to make things from polymer and post them on social media, we would love to find you and follow you too. Please use the hashtag #HowDoYouSculpey or hashtag Sculpey. And also please use the hashtag #MakeItWithMichaels. And then that way we can see what you make that will inspire us as well. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you in March. So bye-bye.